Hi YouTube, I'm JoshStrifeHayes and this is a video guide on the Grey Wolf Den dungeon in Neverwinter. We've got a team of 3 DPS, a tank and a healer. We're going to go to Epic Dungeons and queue up right now. Epic Grey Wolf Den or Grey Wolf Den Master. Now there are a few interesting mechanics in this dungeon, so I'm going to talk about them as we get to them. If you have any questions, you can normally find me on Twitch under JoshStrifeHayes. As soon as we arrive in the dungeon, run straight forward and take on the mobs that are directly in front of you. Nothing difficult about these mobs, they're standard enemies. They can prove difficult to anyone who's under-geared or a team that hasn't done it before, but you're not going to find anything that you've not fought before. What I am going to do is change one of my powers. As you carry on through this dungeon, don't walk into the water. You'll take some damage. You'll see that I've got a very, very high DPS team who are happy to run slightly ahead of me and clear things before we get there. This dungeon can be quite quick if done fast. Avoid the water and kill all of these guys as we go. The Stormcallers can be an issue. They've got an attack that hits straight forward ahead of them in a line. You want to avoid that. See the red big rectangle on the floor there? Definitely stay out of that. You're going to see that a lot in this dungeon. Once we get here, see how those guys have ran through the water? If you want to press F and touch the orb, you can actually activate a bridge which will allow you to run through it without being hurt. There's a couple of mobs on the side of this bridge. Nothing difficult. The young blood archers can do a lot of damage if you leave them unchecked. So take them down quickly and then run with your team. Turning left, running up the steps. As we run up the steps, you're going to see a few wolf pack mates jump out at us. Keep them all together as a group and AoE DPS them all down. They're not a problem if you keep them together. At the top of the steps, you'll see some werewolf fighters. These guys are a little bit tougher. This shouldn't be an issue for a medium to high geared team. When you reach the top of the steps, you want to turn through these archers here, and you'll find the very first mini-boss. There's no cutscene for this, so simply run into the fight and start DPSing. He himself is dangerous, but the main issue you're going to face is with the ads he spawns around the side of the room. If you're a lower DPS group, or slightly under-geared, focus these ads the moment they appear. There they are, there's some young blood archers. These guys can actually hit quite hard for low-level enemies. So I'm going to hop off the boss for a minute and just go and clear these guys out. My team don't need it, but I want to show you guys these should definitely be focused first. Thunderfist will jump around the room using the sword that he's got, slicing and hitting everything. As long as the tank keeps his focus, you don't need to worry about him too much. He can hit hard, but if the tank's going to take his attention away, you should be fine. Once he's down, as usual, check him for drops and then carry on. There's only a barbed insignia of dominance, and I don't need that. Clear any of the remaining ads and then run forward and walk through this huge circular door. That's going to take you to the next bonfire. We run up the stairs, and this is where the dungeon can become quite a honeycomb mix. We want to go through that door over there in the corner, but I'm going to take out this mob first just so nothing follows us. It's also useful to get used to taking out mobs as and when you come to them. It can sometimes be quicker to take out mobs than it can to run past them, especially if one person in your group accidentally gets left behind and then mobbed all by himself. So once they're killed, follow the sparkly path and carry on. We carry on all the way through. You'll see a mob of enemies over there. We can avoid aggroing them by running through the door, or you can do what I'm going to do and shoot them to aggro them. Once they're here, your team should help you take care of them quite quickly. Now, anything in this dungeon is difficult if you don't work together. You'll see that Kaltan is hanging back with me and is taking on all the guys. He's making it a lot easier for me to do as much DPS as I can. Once these guys are all dealt with and aren't going to follow us, we can carry on. Return to the sparkly trail and keep going through this dungeon. Now just follow the sparkly trail and head left. In the next few rooms are some mobs. Take them out and push through them. You'll start to see some wolves. These guys are easy to take down if you push through. Now we're about to meet the next mini-boss, Packmaster Zayev. Packmaster Zayev himself is basically just a big elite enemy. He will have all these wolves with him, and these wolves can be a problem. He will spawn more throughout this fight, so keep them all together, keep them controlled, and take them down as fast as you can. It looks like a chaotic fight, but all I'm doing is as many AoE attacks as I can, and I'm trusting that the tank has his aggro and the healer is going to keep me alive. Trusting your team is basically how you get through almost any dungeon. Once he's taken down, carry on up the stairs. We're going to walk through to the door, press F to enter. We push through into the rest, we're going to pass another bonfire. Hopefully you won't need it. Turning left, there are some scavengers and a few young blood archers that are going to jump out and attack us. These guys are nothing you haven't focused on or faced before, they're just in a smaller area. Carry on, turn right. When we're in this area, you'll see an elite group standing in the middle. Trust your team, run forward, aggro them, and kill them. Now, this is where the dungeon starts to get slightly harder, especially for undergeared groups. You'll face slightly tougher enemies, and enemies that have specific attacks, like AoE attacks, or large rectangular areas of damage in front of them. You can see the Stormcallers here. They're going to hit around them, and eventually, just like that, they're going to hit the floor. You don't keep these guys under control, you're going to have a lot of the floor turning red, and you definitely don't want that. You can see a huge group of enemies over here. Thankfully, groups of enemies suit my playstyle perfectly, so I can dive into them and AoE all of them. When the room is clear, we can carry on. Keep following the sparkly trail, turning left, running through this corridor. There's nothing to worry about in here. We stick left, and there are some wolf packmates. I'm going to wait for my tank to run forward until, there we go, the whole team's here. I could run in there by myself, but I honestly don't fancy my chances against them. We keep going and we turn left. Following the sparkly trail, there are no more mini-bosses. The next thing we will eventually find is the boss. We've got a few more mobs to clear before we get to her though. Scavengers and packmates in this room. Nothing that you've not dealt with before. We're going to keep pushing forward, following the sparkly trail. There'll be a few seconds of nothing while you keep running through the dungeon. If you have any questions about this dungeon, this guide, or the Hunter Ranger class, you can normally find me on Twitch under JoshStrifeHayes. We're now in a slightly outsidey area, and we keep pushing around the side until you can see the wolf pack mates and a fighter over there. Take out this mob nice and quick. My team are making short work of anything that stands in their way. If this takes you longer, don't despair. This is a very, very, very good team. I've been lucky to get these people to come and run with me. Another mob is going to meet us, and then we keep pushing forward. This is the final area before the last boss. You're going to be mobbed from all sides as you run down here, so kill these guys nice and quickly. You can see the scavengers jumping toward us, hitting us for heavy damage. Take extra care when you're here to not fall off the edge. If I run over here, you'll see there's a spike pit on the floor. Falling into there is instant death for anyone. So keep the fight, like my team are doing, in the middle over here. This is basically a mob of all the people you've taken on before. Some Stormcallers, some Lords, some Scavengers. But the healer should be keeping everyone alive, and the DPS should be killing everything as fast as they can. Once you've cleared the area, press F to use the lever and send the bridge across. I could be tempted to jump to the bridge, but I'm going to wait for it to get all the way and then run. I don't want to fall at the final hurdle. This brings us to the boss. This boss has an interesting mechanic. I'm going to talk about it quickly before we go in. She will spawn adds, as every boss does. Kill those as soon as they appear, otherwise they will slowly swarm you. The other interesting things that she has is I have for some reason become stuck specifically in there. Another interesting thing that she can do is occasionally red circles will appear on the floor. Dodge out of them as fast as you possibly can. Otherwise, hands of energy are going to shoot up from the floor and hit you for large damage. But the big problem, and the reason most groups fail on this, is throughout the fight she will at certain points become invulnerable. At this point you will hear a commentator in the arena shout, "Release the Marrowsbane Wolf Spirit." When this happens, a red ethereal wolf will be in the arena. You need to lure this wolf to her and kill the wolf when it's next to her. If you kill the wolf when it's next to her, then you can attack her and then you can hurt her. If you kill the wolf when it's far away from her, she will remain invulnerable. If you have a group that's not organized, if you have a bad group, they will keep killing the wolf away from her, she will remain invulnerable, and the fight will go on a lot longer. In order to make this a lot easier, you can lure her over to the gate near where the wolf spawns. I'm going to try and do that now. I'm going to shoot her to get her attention and then keep dodging over to the side. Ideally, we want her over here near the treasure chest. We can't access the treasure chest yet because obviously we haven't done the dungeon, but ideally we want her over there. That's where the wolf spawns from. You'll see all these ads, and I'm going to talk about the ads as and when they appear. You can see the Shadow Wolf. The Shadow Wolves aren't a problem. You can kill them quickly, keep them in the same area, and attack them. Marrow's Lake herself will have the huge sword swing, the cone area of attack in front of her. She'll jump around, and occasionally you'll see the red circles on the floor. Keep DPSing her until she becomes invulnerable. Avoid as much red as you possibly can. Now you'll see now she's huge and has a red glow. Now I can't hurt her. She's summoned some Stormcallers. Before I focus on the ethereal wolf, I'm going to try and get rid of these Stormcallers. I don't want these to be in the arena while I'm focusing on tactics. So killing these guys right now, pretty much a priority for me. One of them's down. There's the Marrowsbane. See that red wolf just there? Now it's close enough to her. Now it's next to her. Quickly throw a load of AoE DPS. When that wolf dies, we can hurt her again. Lure the wolf to her. Kill the wolf as fast as possible when it's next to her. As soon as that's happened, DPS her down again. Here are some more adds. The adds are going to swarm a lower geared team. So take your time and focus on them. If you don't do this first time, it's not a problem. This is not the easiest boss. This Youngblood archer, despite being away from the fight, deserves my attention, because he's going to keep throwing damage at us until I deal with him. These Youngblood archers over here are, thankfully for me, standing close enough to each other that my attacks can hit all of them. Once again, see those hands there? That's the big DPS attack. You definitely want to avoid that. Keep your eyes on the ground. Make sure you know you're not standing in the red. If I stand between these Stormcallers, I should be able to hit both of them with my attacks. And then dodge out the way of the red as and when the Stormcallers do that. Marrow's Lake has unfortunately chosen to throw aggro onto me for the time being, so I'm going to have to dodge around and play slightly more defensively. There is the Marrowsbane Spirit. We want to get that next to her as soon as possible. Yep, we've taken her invulnerability away again, and now we're going to focus her. You will take a lot of damage in this arena. You will heal a lot of health, mainly through your lifesteal or by having a good healer. And the longer the fight goes on, the greater your chance of failing, which is why, as soon as she becomes invulnerable, you want to take care of all of the adds and then focus on the wolf spirit as soon as you possibly can. She's invulnerable for the final time. Because of this, there was the big hand attack. It got me that time and it did quite a lot. Thankfully we have a good healer and my health's back up to the top. See all these scavengers being summoned? It's my job as a DPS to make sure they don't stay summoned for long. And after these guys have been dealt with, there's the wolf spirit. I don't want to kill it yet, it's a little bit too far away. I ideally want to lure it toward and then kill it. It's probably close enough now to count. Yep, it died and she lost her invulnerability. I'm going to focus on these Stormcallers. I know it's nearly the end of the fight, but I don't want them bothering us. When you get her to the final quarter of her health, just have your whole team stand around her and hit her as hard as you can. She'll continue summoning adds, but thankfully because you'll be close to her, you can hit all the adds without really trying. And after you've done that enough, see how she's summoned one final invulnerability surge? She's on basically 0 health, but we still need to stay focused. That's a perfect example of why you should never relax until the boss is actually dead. I'm focusing my attention on this Stormcaller. The Wolf Spirit is now in the arena, but I don't want to take it down until it's close enough to her. Now it should be. The Spirit dies close enough, she loses her invulnerability, and we do the final damage. The adds don't die immediately, so make sure they're all swept up and cleaned before you go anywhere else. Now I can throw a few of these things away because I don't need them, and loot that instead. If you're lucky, she'll drop something. Head over to here, but before you leave the arena, make sure you pick up your treasure chest using an epic dungeon chest key to get a choice of shoes. If you don't do this first time, try and try again. Remember to get the Marrowsbane Wolf Spirit next to her before you kill it. It's not the easiest dungeon, but I'm sure you can do it. Now good luck and go and kill her.